Anthropic released a new skill for Claude Code. This is an open source skill, and it's called Launch Your Agent. Its goal is this: it lets you go from an idea to a working AI agent in the shortest way. These are created as agents that run on Anthropic's servers. You tell it what you want. In just a few minutes, your agent is ready. In this video, I'll show you how this skill works. You'll see what it does and the new way of writing code with AI actually. And at the end, we'll test it together in a real use scenario. We'll talk about its weaknesses, its cost, and where this is really headed. If you're developing with AI, working with AI agents, building automations, or using them in company workflows, these topics are very important. Now, to set up this skill, you need to understand three fundamental things. First, what is an AI agent? You can think of an AI agent as a digital worker. You give it a task. It goes, does it, and reports the result back to you. The difference between an agent and a normal Claude chat, the main difference, is tools, actually. AI agents use tools. Thanks to the tools they use, they can perform tasks autonomously. Normally, when you talk to Claude, it just keeps the conversation going. It progresses one step for you, one step for it. An AI agent, however, takes 10, 50, or 100 steps toward the goal and then reports back. Each agent has its own tools, and the better it uses them, the more effective it becomes. What could these be? It could be browsing the web scraping, writing files, writing code, or calling APIs. And at each step, it decides for itself which tool to use. This is how real automation is actually done. The AI decides what to use on your behalf and finishes the job correctly. We've come to our second concept, the loop. This is actually the new way of writing code with AI, but I'm not the one saying this. By the way, you're not hearing it from me. The person saying this is Boris Cherny, the head of Claude Code. Boris Cherny says this: he no longer writes the code he used to write by hand 6 months ago. He gives it to Claude Code, and Claude Code writes the code for him. Now Claude is writing its own code, and he explains how it does it like this. I don't give code to Claude anymore. I have working loops. I define a loop, and Claude works to execute it, and it brings me the result. In this way, he started running processes at a much different level. So he defines his job as writing loops. This actually changes a lot of things for us too. Meaning the human rises above the model, designs a system for it, and the model builds that system itself. You can think of it that way. Think of it like this. I'm saying this so you can fully explain and understand the loop. Instead of giving Claude a task like, do this, you give it a goal. And to achieve that goal, Claude finds its own ways. It builds and works until that goal is realized. And generally, since most people aren't expert-level coders like Claude Code, it finds better methods than we do, and it finishes that job. This is the basis of the loop logic. It's also one of the most important features that sets an agent apart from a chatbot. It repeats the same cycle until it's finished. It looks for errors, fixes them, and moves to the next step. If it finds an error in the next step, it researches the cause, maybe fixes something from before, continues to the next step again, and in this way brings it to the point where it works perfectly. Think of it as a self-improving feedback system, actually. You're no longer responsible for Claude's result. It's responsible for its own result. And to reach that result, it uses its own tools, tests them, and delivers the work to you at the point where it has reached that result. The Launch Your Agent skill is also, this open source skill is also designed exactly for you to write a good loop. Now you need to give the agent three things so it can understand this loop. First is context. So you need to provide what this project is, where it is, and what's being done. Second is the goal. It needs to have a goal. Within this context, what does it want to achieve by setting a goal? And third is success, meaning, what do we call success? What's the definition of success? When will the thing being built be enough? When you provide these, this last one is very important, because if you don't define success correctly, you'll have an incomplete product. To define it correctly, you need to construct your success metrics. This is the new competency that will put you ahead of everyone, advance your career, and enable you to build the right startup and use it correctly. Being able to write these loops is not prompt engineering. It's not N8N automation either. We've moved to this level now. You need to set up automations with these, and the most important thing here is the success metric. Now, loops have a general problem, and it's this. Normally in Claude, you have to start the loop and wait for it. By waiting for it, it might take 5 hours. But that session needs to be open in the terminal. You can't turn off your computer. That's the situation. This is where Launch Your Agent comes in. Thanks to Launch Your Agent, with what they call CMA, Cloud Managed Agents, you actually move the tasks to Claude's cloud, to Anthropic's cloud server, and the agent lives there 24/7. This way, the requirement for you to keep working on the computer is eliminated. When you give a task or schedule something, it automatically runs when the time comes, or continues doing the work there, even if you close it. The good part is this: Anthropic doesn't charge a separate platform fee for this. That's a good thing. You only pay for what you use, but costs can really be very high. You need to be careful about this. So that's why I'll show you here how much the cost is. We'll look at that too. But in the old method, we were doing all of this ourselves. We used to set up our own servers, find the errors, debug them, and solve them. This skill takes all of that to the cloud level. Cloud does everything automatically. There is a question here: what can be done for data privacy, so to speak? They've thought of that too. You also have a self-hosted environment option. You can run it that way if you want. If you have private customer data or care about privacy, you can also connect a memory storage to this agent. The agent saves what it learns between different tasks there. Every time it runs, it reads its notes from last time, so it gets a little bit better every single time. It's actually a version of the permanent memory idea we discussed as a second brain, adapted for this agent. The skill works like this. You say, launch your agent in Claude Code, then the skill interviews you. What does interview mean? It tries to understand what it needs to do and what success looks like. To do this, it actually asks you questions. Because if the agent doesn't understand what success is, as we said, it can't know or understand when its job is done. Then it makes all the API calls itself. You don't need to do any of this manually. It actually does it all automatically. The agent takes over all the tasks and runs the loop, and it comes back when it's finished. But as I said, the most important part is the interview part, because it lets you do it even if you've never set up an AI agent or don't know how to code. This is our repo. As you can see, we take it. We copy its address. You can see it here. It's coming from Anthropic. I've come to the terminal. I type cloud, but you can do this anywhere within Claude Code. You can also do it from the desktop app. Let's go here. I'm saying please understand and install this repo here. Understand this repo and install it. It's going to install it here now. Well, it's understanding it now. By the way, there's a cleaner way too. You can clone this repo. It'll be created more cleanly when you clone it. I wanted to show that you can install it just by talking, without doing anything else. Now, it's giving you an option here. You can set it up just within this project. You can also make it global, meaning you can run it in all of your projects. This way, it'll work in all projects. I've set it up so it'll work even if you open a new repo. Now, as you can see, it's installed. There are two things here. One of them is wrap-up. What does this do? It installed Launch Your Agent. It also installed something called wrap-up. Now, wrap-up is actually called wrap-up CMA. There was a wrap-up before. It wraps up the topic and closes what you did in that project. It gives a summary. It's an interesting thing. But it doesn't just give a summary. It also goes into what to do in the next step. So it doesn't just summarize and end. It also shows what will be done in the next step. That's why this skill came here as a helper. But our main skill is the Launch Your Agent skill. But let me show you how it works right away. When you say wrap up, it works like this and gives you a summary. As you can see, it's done. Now, let's start from scratch in a completely clean folder. I'm saying Launch Your Agent. Now I'll give Launch Your Agent a task. It's looking at it like this. Now it says welcome. Let's build your first real agent. First, we need to figure out what it'll do. Then it says we'll build it together. In the end, you'll have a real Claude Managed Agent. By Anthropic, your agent will run continuously in its hosted harness and run the loop cycle, it says. First, it says what needs to happen and what needs to be done. What do you want to do? What do you want to build? Provide this, it says. And I'm saying I want a system that scans for daily leads. Let it find new campaigns in the target city and sector and put them in a CSV for me. I said that. One more thing before finishing. Where do they find them? Where do these campaigns come from? It says things. Companies, businesses. I'm saying new means a new lead. Let it solve it. By the way, this is exactly what I call an interview. Normally, if you don't take time for this or answer these questions, it starts building something that isn't quite right. But taking a few minutes for this actually prevents hours of struggling. That's why it's so important. Where should it access? It asks. You have an MCP server, should it access from there? It asks. Or should it access directly from Apify? It asks. I won't involve the projects here at all. Let it access itself, it says. Yes, let there be a target list. Yes, you'll provide the share, it says. Let the AI fit score be standard. Let's add an AI fit score to see if it's suitable for us. Like that. Let the AI actually score these leads. We've added a flow like this. So what will it do? It'll scrape the leads. Then based on city and sector, it'll score whether they're suitable for us. Which one should we sell to? It asks. The interview proceeds like this actually. It asks quite a lot about how you'll approach it, where you'll connect it, and what you need to do. It asks, and you think about it too. A more efficient flow emerges. It said, okay, asked where, let it be 50. Let's try 25 leads at first. What should the time be? Let it be Istanbul. Let's do Madrid. Okay, we're continuing. New York dental clinics. By the way, let me delete this. English. It had also asked for the language, because of which language the search will be in. Now, there's an important point here. It's asking for an Apify token. It needs it for Google Maps scraping, so it's telling us what we need to do. It also wants Anthropic API keys, because this runs on the Anthropic platform. So we need to provide an API key. We can run it with our Claude membership, but even if we run it from here, it'll use the API key, so we'll need to provide that. You can get your API key from Apify right here. You come over here. The API key is right here. If this is needed, what are you going to provide? Then you come here. You just create one from the API key. Now it's created a dashboard like this for me, called Daily Lead Scan. It said it'll come in like this every day. As I said, this runs on the Anthropic server, but it's working quite successfully. Which model will it use? Claude Sonnet, at 8 o'clock Madrid time. It's set at launch. Now it's continuing to ask questions. What should we do? Yes, let's run it as if it's 8 o'clock. You can see the Manage Agent here. By the way, when you go to your agents, this daily lead scan, I've used it before. The lead registration bot, it created it here automatically as daily lead scan. It's doing it right now, as you can see. Deploy is here. Session is here. You can see everything it's doing and what's being completed right here. And you can see everything as launch live right here. You can see it running and how it's working. It actually did a nice job, but to be honest here, while this is happening, it's running, and you can see all the details as I said. When you click it, yes, it opens up. You can go to the other browser and see the place I just showed you. To be honest, I prefer using Hermes or agents I've developed myself. In terms of cost, Claude agents are a bit expensive. You're using Sonnet with the API. It actually ends up being quite costly. Just for this process, it costs $0.63, which is quite high, and it doesn't come out of your normal plan. This is a cost that should normally come to around $0.5. If you connected Codex to Hermes or connected GLM, it could actually do the same job. So it's a bit pricey here, but if you want a 24/7 agent that gets results quickly without being technical and you want it on the Claude side, as I said, it's one of the most effective methods and it's really sped things up. Just tell it whatever problem you have or whatever you want to do and let it do it. But we'll be building many systems with this logic in the community. You're welcome to join us, if you'd like. Our goal is to build digital workers for ourselves. In this video, you've actually learned the logic behind these automated processes that do our work. Even if Anthropic applies this system automatically, you should apply it to your own digital workers and automations. I hope this video has been helpful. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.